Thank you so much. How sorry for my bad throat. I've probably been talking too much over the last few days. But Excellencies, I'm so happy to be here with the President of Kenya, President of Trinidad and Tobago, President of Guyana, and such a fantastic audience of good people dedicated to fighting pollution. And this meeting is taking place exactly at the right day. Because a lot of people have said that 5th of December is really what we should dedicate as the global day of pollution, the global day of smog. 5th of December 1952 was a day in London. There was no wind, it was extremely cold. At the time, the Brits exported their best coal and took the worst coal back home in London. And it was the starting day of what was called as the Big Smoke, or the Great Smog of London. At the worst, it was so bad that people in the city centre of London could not have a visibility of more than 1 meter. Entire traffic system broke down except for the underground. And historians now tell us that probably 12,000 people were killed in the Great London Smog. 5th of December, 1952. Today we are 5th of December 2017, and we are dedicated to make sure that these kind of events never come back anywhere on the planet. And look upon how the Brits took action, because in 1956 they passed the Clean Air Act, which I believe probably was the first such act anywhere in the world, informed by the Great Smog. And indeed, the United Kingdom, who was basically formed and based on coal. Historians tell us that the Industrial Revolution happened in the United Kingdom because the kingdom was abundant with coal, and there were waterways to bring the coal around. Now coal is down to 2% of the energy mix in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom in Bonn formed the anti-coal alliance with Canada and many other nations. And indeed, United Kingdom will phase out coal very, very soon. So it shows what we can do if we take determined action. The United Nations global leaders a few years back came forward to make 17 fantastic sustainable development goals. No one basically remember all the 17, not even the ambassadors, and maybe Mashiro Kamau, the ambassador of Kenya, one of the greatest ambassadors in New York, maybe he can remember them, but very few of the rest of us. But don't worry, because it's very easy. These 17 goals is about people and planet, bringing education, health, and getting every human being out of poverty, and taking care of the fantastic ecosystems of the mountains of the Himalayas, the grasslands of Kenya, or the deserts of the Arab Peninsula, or whatever you are thinking of. People and planet, and pollution is front and center of that. Because if we cannot curb pollution, we will not serve people, and we will not take care of the planet. Pollution is about health. World Health Organization tells us that 7 million people on planet Earth are dying every year just from air pollution. Pollution is about the environment. Back home in my nation, Norway, very recently we had a whale swimming across the coast there. That whale behaved very erratically, and people shot the whale. In the stomach of the whale, they did find 30 plastic bags. The whale as seabirds, and indeed camels in deserts, or any number of animals, are feeding on plastics. They're dying from it, and it's destroying our environment. Fighting pollution is also about our economies. The enormous loss from pollution is there in nearly any nation on the planet. Our economies will thrive if we fight pollution. Fighting pollution is also about jobs. We need jobs. Every president, everywhere in the world. I just had a conversation with President Kenyatta, and he told me how important jobs are to Kenyans, and how important, by the way, the measures now taken by Kenya to make sure that you have an integration between Kenya and the neighboring states on economic measures, making possible for Ugandans to come and work and marry and live in Kenya. This is what will create jobs for Kenyans and Ugandans and the entire East Africa. But it's all about jobs, and moving into a green economy can provide any number of jobs. In the United States of America, there are 5 times more jobs in the renewables than there are in coal. Fighting pollution is also about poverty. The world is not fair. The poorer you are, the more likely you are to be severely affected by water pollution, indoor pollution, and indeed also the outdoor pollution in the big cities of the world. And finally, fighting pollution is about climate change. One of the reasons we have set out fighting pollution is that nearly everything we do to curb pollution will be beneficial for fighting climate change, and vice versa. The world is now rapidly moving into the renewable economics. Coal will be phased out. Renewables, wind and solar can compete with coal everywhere in the world for new investments. And of course, that direction is fantastic both for climate fight and for fighting pollution. My friends, there is any number of good news. I mean, we all know the challenges are big. But let's focus in on the good news, because those can inspire us to do more. Let me start right here in Kenya. The government of Kenya twice tried to stop plastic bags in Kenya. You failed. Then you decided to prepare that better and get it done the 3rd time. Congratulations, President, Minister of Environment, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and all Kenyans. And if everyone is in doubt, my strong feeling is that the vast majority of Kenyans support you. There are divides on other issues, but on this, Kenyans need to be united to make this happening. And the innovative power of people is immense. There is any number of different other bags coming up, most of them more beautiful, nicer than the plastic bags you get rid of. So thank you. But let me move on to neighboring Rwanda. I had a very interesting conversation once by President Kagame. Kigali is probably, it's for sure the cleanest city in Africa. It's indeed one of the cleanest cities in the entire world. Now ask Kagame, how did you manage that? Well, he said, all Rwandans historically kept it clean at home. Then he added, nearly all Rwandans also kept clean in their own gardens. So what we did to try to do was to take that attitude from the home and the garden into society at large. It's not easy, but they have made enormous progress. Let me move on to other corners of the world. At the 19th Party Congress of the Chinese Communist Party, which just finalized, President Xi set out beautiful China, ecological civilization, and a number of other big demands to the people of China for going in a green direction. And some American companies realized that he spoke more about the environment. They spoke more about the environment than about the economy in his speech to the Communist Party of China. And we see the results. And now fighting pollution is one of the 3 main objectives of the party and the state for the next 5 years. Because this has started before the party congress, we already see the results. In the central China area of Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei, which has been one of the most polluted, pollution is rapidly coming down. And my Chinese friends tell me that people are now putting posters on the internet showing how the pollution were in the past and how much better it now is. For sure, China's not there, but the direction is the right one. And through that, China will produce any number of technologies and examples which will be beneficial for the rest of the world. Moving on to South Asia. I spent many years of my life in Sri Lanka and working with India. I know if there is one problem for Sri Lankans and Indians, it's cricket. This week, the cricket match between Sri Lanka and India was cancelled. There's hardly any bigger insult to the people in South Asia, but cricket is their religion beside Hinduism, Buddhism, and other religions. It was stopped because of pollution. But the good news is that the government of Sri Lanka set out a trajectory of what they call green-blue growth. Prime Minister Modi of India is decisively active. He formed with France the Global Solar Alliance. He has set out the slogan of Clean India, and India is rapidly moving into the solar economy. They are, by the way, the first all-solar run airport in the world, in the southern state of Kerala, and you see many Indian states with 10% economic growth, but rapidly moving into the solar and wind economy. So this fantastic good news also from there. I can't go around the globe, but let me move on to France. President Macron of France setting out the Global Environment Pact for all of us, creating enthusiasm behind it. I'm very happy to announce that we have made Laurent Fabius, who was the architect behind the Paris Agreement. He's now UN Environment Patron for Environment Governments. He's here, and we will have side events on this Global Pact, which have galvanized so much support, and the UN Environment is ready to provide secretariat for this great effort. Germany, of course, with the Energiewende. I hate to mention more nations because I mean it's not fair to all of you. So many nations in Africa, Asia, Europe, America, they all take action and they inspire us. And let's get into the mood of learning from the examples, the experiences from Kenya. It's not problem-free to make an effort like this. Let's learn from it and see how other nations can learn from that. Moving towards the end, looking ahead, what we really need is the political leadership Kenya, Rwanda, China, India, France, Germany, and others provided. With that leadership, we can basically get everything done. If we allow someone to divide us, we will fail. If we work together, we will succeed. So we should always be in this global togetherness. Together we can resolve the pollution problem. Separately, we will fail. But leadership is key. Bold action is key, not just talks in UN conferences, but bold action at home. Maybe at some point we will need global instruments, global pacts. We may need a global pact on plastic at some point, but starting point is at home. What we as business, civil society, and governments do in our own nation, then we move on to the broader perspective. I also tell you, I won't mention any company or any civil society organization here now, but without the dedication of so many individuals and so many companies, we will not be there. I just mentioned one, Afroz Shah, Mumbai. He just watched the horribly polluted beaches of Mumbai. He did not call his member of parliament or his prime minister or anyone else. He just went down to the beach and started picking plastic. In the beginning, there were 2. Then there were hundreds. Then there were thousands. Now this has continued for more than 100 consecutive weeks. The other day, he got into some trouble because some hooligans and goons starting harassing them. It was immediate reaction all over India. It was called to Delhi to my old friend, the former UN ambassador, now the Minister of Urban Affairs, Hardip Singh Puri, called to him, who gave the full support to the government of India to his efforts, the state of Maharashtra supporting it. So it shows how one individual can galvanize a nation and get the support from the highest level of government and business. So let's embrace all these activists, all these businesses, and all this government who take us where we need to come. Finally, we have worked very, very closely with both the government of Israel and the government of Palestine in the recent weeks and months, and indeed the entire year, with the aim of setting out how we can really work to provide a better environment in Palestine and indeed also in Israel. I would really like to thank both Israel and Palestine for the flexibility. We have agreed that we will set out in the first quarter of 2018 an assessment of the environment situation in Palestine, and we will do that in cooperation between Israel and Palestine. I will also thank all those who have supported this great effort. That's the Arab League, it's the United States of America, it's the European Union, there are others. Without your support, it will be more difficult. But at the core of it is the flexibility of Palestine and the flexibility of Israel to really make this happen. I applaud it and hope we can have more of that in different conflicts in the world. Finally, we need to build a global, strong alliance and advocacy for what we want to do. And in order to do that, we need to get out of the group of confirmed environmentalists. I was so pleased when I saw this front page this week. This is Daily Mail, not a reputed environment newspaper, not maybe a reputed intellectual newspaper, one of the most hard-hitting tabloids in the United Kingdom. And you can't read it from the behind, but it says, "Let's turn the tide on plastic." As a report reveals, beaches are getting worse, and 2 supermarket chains back our bottle deposit campaign, and they put any number of reports from beaches all over the United Kingdom. This is indeed what we need, to drive environment home, to make sure that people talk about the environment, want to act about the environment, that they act in their own lives, and put pressure on politicians and business leaders to act, and then we need to get out. And I'm proud to say that this slogan, "Let's turn the tide on plastic," well, it was invented by good people right here in Nairobi. Be it pollution, again, invented by people here, people who can communicate outside the group of the convertits, and can there be any better sign of the success than when it's taken into the tabloid world of ours. But please give us support. We will need support for the Clean Seas campaign. We will need support for the Breathe Life campaign, which we do with World Health Organization and World Meteorological Organization, and which will be open to other parties. Without support from the member states, we cannot have these hard-hitting campaigns. But our ambition is to reach out in many languages in all corners of the world to the man and woman in the streets to bring environment home. Absolutely finally, one of my historical favorites, the greatest president of the United States of America in all times, in my view, Abraham Lincoln, once said, "If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong." And I think we should take that moral clarity into the 21st century and tell each other that if keeping people still in extreme poverty, and if destroying this one vulnerable planet we share together, that's not wrong, nothing is wrong. Thank you so much.